Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to make fur cuff fingerless gloves. Let's get started. To make this project you're going to need a loom pick in case anything falls off, scissors, a bent needle, a crochet hook, and also I used this brand of fuzzy yarn because it went through the machine easily, and you also need your main color. I'm going to begin by using my Expo marker and I'm going to mark off 3 stitches. So all Addi machines have these 3 black pins. It's the first 3 black pins. I'm going to put a mark on the notch next to each of these 3 pins. And I'm going to use this for reference later, but this is just going to make things easier when I do my finger holes. So I'm going to begin at the beginning here. I'm going to begin at the start of the machine. I have my fuzzy yarn and I'm just going to cast on in the regular way and just do this slowly because this is a thicker yarn. Okay, and so I've cast on. I'm not going to be able to put this in the yarn feeder because it will get jammed. So instead, I'm just going to hold my finger next to it and I'm going to do 5 rows of the fuzzy yarn. So this technically counts as row 2. Just do it slowly so nothing gets jammed. This is 3. 4. And this is 5. And we're going to stop at the beginning of the black pins. Cut a tail and then place this into the center of the machine. Now get your main color, put it into the yarn feeder. I'm going to reset my counter and I'm going to do 15 rows with the new color. And just do that first row slowly so nothing gets jammed. Okay, so now I have done my 15 rows and I'm up to the first black pin. So I have these 3 notches marked with the black marker because I need to be able to remove the 3 black pins from the machine and put them on this bent needle. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I need this last white pin to make a stitch, but I don't want the black pin to create one as well. So I'm just going to go. And then you see how this yarn has already gone underneath the black pin. I'm just going to push the yarn under that notch. And now I'm going to go in reverse like I'm doing a panel knit. And I'm just going to stop right there. So now I have this bent needle, and this is why I have these 3 stitches marked off like this. I'm going to pick off the first black pin and then the second black pin. And I'm going to leave them on the bent needle like that. I'm not going to be able to do the third one until I go all the way around. So I'm going to continue doing this panel knitting until I get to that last stitch that I want to put on the bent needle. So I'm going along, and this is again why I marked it with the marker so that I know where I need to be. And I use Expo markers because you can just rub them off when you're done. So now this last black pin is starting to come up, but I need to make this stitch with the one next to it. So I'm going to continue going. All right, the yarn is caught under this white one. I'm going to continue a little more. And now I'm just going to manually flip that under. And now I'm going to reverse again. Let's just move that out of the way. I'm going to reverse again. And once this pin goes down completely, that stitch is free. So let's go a little more. All right, that stitch is now free. So I'm going to use my needle here. And this last one is sometimes a little tight. I'm just going to take that last stitch and put it on the bent needle. So now I have those 3 stitches. And now I'm going to go back to my panel knitting. So I'm going to do 5 rows of panel knitting. So the one I'm doing right now counts as row 1. So this is row 1. So this is 1, Okay, so I'm at the end here, so I'm just going to let that last stitch. This is 2. Three. 4. And then 5. And we go to the end. And I'm going to stop right as this black pin rose up. I cut a strand of yarn in a completely different color, around 6 inches long. And I'm going to weave this around these 3 empty pins to create some new stitches so that we can go back to working in the round. I'm going to show you very up close how I do this. So I'm going to take this yarn and flip it under that pin, but I need to get this all the way down to the bottom of the machine. It's all the way past the black teeth. Now I'm going to advance the machine. I'm going to flip this under these 2 red notches, so it's underneath those 2. And then once this black pin starts to rise up, I'm going to let that one get caught as well, and I'm going to flip it under. So it's all the way underneath those teeth. And you can pull on these tails to even this out so that it's evenly distributed. These 2 tails I'm going to push all the way down into this hole. So again, everything is as far down as possible. And now I can go back to knitting in the round. So now I'm going to do this for 10 rounds. I'm going to restart my counter and I'm going to do 10 rounds. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to stop right there. Now I'm going to remove the stitches from the machine. And I don't want to deal with any waste yarn, so I'm going to use a crochet hook. So take the yarn out of the yarn guide, but make sure it gets caught under that first pin. And I'm going to start advancing the machine. And you don't need to release all the stitches at the same time. I did that with the first glove that I made off camera, and some of them started falling off. So I don't really recommend doing that. I'm going to use a loom pick to pull this first stitch off. And I'm going to put my crochet hook inside there. So now that stitch is caught. And I just have this long tail here, which is attached to the ball. And I'm going to do a slip stitch. This does require some crochet knowledge. So now I'm just going to slowly begin moving the machine around and release each stitch onto my crochet hook. So now I have 2 stitches. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull the yarn through both stitches. Advance the machine, the next one, yarn over and pull it through both. And I'm going to do this all the way around. Now I just lost a stitch. It's very important to never pull on anything. I have the loom pick. I'm just going to grab that stitch right now. Anytime, at least for me, when I try to use my finger or grab it, I just always lose the stitch completely. So when you lose a stitch, just pause, don't panic, don't pull on anything, and you'll be able to just save it with the loom pick. All right, and we're just going to keep going. You can also just use the loom pick to remove these stitches and just slide it onto the crochet hook. That's probably the safer thing to do than what I've been doing. Slide it on. so I've gone all the way around, and just I'm going to close this up right here with, I'm going to close this gap here with a slip stitch. So I'm just going to insert my crochet hook into the first stitch I slip stitched and close that off, cut a tail, and then just tie that off. So let's see what we have. So let's pull on this, straighten it out, and there's our glove. So the first thing I want to do is I do want to secure the brown tail and the fur tail when I did those color changes. So on the cuff right here, just find the tail where you introduced your two colors and just tie a knot there so that they don't unravel. I'm just going to do that like that. And you can trim those tails later. So let's try on the glove and see what the fit is like. And that's what I have so far. It looks really nice. And now we're going to close up this thumb hole area. So I have my crochet hook. I'm going to begin in the stitch after my waist yarn here. This is considered selvage. So I want to pull up under the two legs of each stitch. Don't only do one leg of the stitch because you're going to end up with holes. So I'm just going to chain one to introduce that yarn. And then I'm going to go around, and I just want to make sure that I'm going through more than one leg of a stitch. And I'm going to just do some single crochets around. I'm just doing a single crochet into each stitch here. That's what I have so far. And now I'm in this area where I have this stitch here. You see these two stitches? This is actually two stitches pulled apart. So I want to ignore this bar here because if you put a stitch there, you'll get a hole. So I'm going to put my crochet hook under the first stitch of that separation. And then I'm going to ignore this bar here. I'm up to my first stitch that's been pulled off with the needle. So I'm just going to insert my crochet hook in there and do my single crochet. And then I'm going to slide the stitch off because I don't want to risk losing the stitch before I've completed it. And then you can see I don't have any holes between my stitches. So now I'm up to the next one. Just put the crochet hook in. I can slide it off there, do a single crochet, and then the last one, slide my crochet hook in and do my single crochet. So now I'm at the same situation here where I have this row of stitches and this row of stitches. I'm going to ignore this bar. I've already done this side, and I'm just going to go into the next branch of that stitch and do a single crochet, and then I'm going to go into all these remaining stitches with my single crochets. And you can just check to make sure that you don't have any holes. If you see a hole, that means you either went into only one leg of a stitch or you went in between two stitches. So I'm just continuing. I'm going to get up to my waist yarn in a moment. Okay, so I'm up to my first waist yarn. So I want to insert my hook into where the waist yarn is, but I again want to make sure I'm under two legs of a stitch, because if you only do one, you will have a hole. Okay, so there's one. Now this one is actually a live stitch that's been pulled kind of tight. So we need to pick that stitch out a little bit. I'm going to use the loom pick so that I can get my crochet hook in there. And then I'm going to do a single crochet. Now, if you see here, I have a little hole there. I don't like how that looks, so I'm going to redo that stitch. That's why I didn't pull this waist yarn out yet. Okay, so I didn't like how that looked, so I'm going to go into a different spot. And I think that looks a lot better. So now I'm going to go back to this stitch that was in the waist yarn. And then here's another one. I'm just going to pull it up with my loom pick because I can't get my crochet hook in there. Okay. Do a single crochet. And then this is the last stitch right there. a single crochet, and then I'm just going to do one more in those bars. Okay, and just double check that you don't have any holes. I don't see any. I think this is good. And so now I'm going to skip this because that was my chain one, and I'm going to do a single crochet into the first single crochet that I did. Now I'm going to put a stitch marker because I'm going to be working in the round. So I'm going to do a single crochet, decrease, single crochet all the way around. So I did my one single crochet. Now I'm going to do my decrease, single crochet, decrease, and so on all the way around. And this is going to give us some shaping for the thumb. Okay, so at this point, you can try it on. Just make sure that you feel like it's to see that it's coming together in a way that you like. So that's what I have now. So you can see that this is becoming tighter around my thumb. And now I'm going to just single crochet around once, and then I'm done. Let's put the stitch marker back in. We're just going to single crochet around once. And you can make this longer if you want a longer thumb hole. That's totally fine. You could just leave it open, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. I don't see any holes, so I'm really happy with this. And I'm just going to slip stitch into that last stitch, cut a tail, and I'm just going to secure this with a knot. So now I can pull out this waste yarn. And there it is. And there's the thumb hole. It fits really nicely. And what's good is because I did like the slip stitch closure on the top, it's tight, like it's secure. It's not going to fall off or roll back in any way. You can do this looser. I did it a little tightly, but if you want it a little of a looser fit, you can do that as well. So then lastly, just weave in your tails, and this is what we have. It's really cute. It's warm. This is great for when it's a little chilly, but you don't want to wear real gloves. It's great for indoors as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you make this project, let me know. Bye-bye.